Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Hello everyone, welcome to Basics Discussion Circle Meditation. My name is Travis, I facilitate this group. In this class we go over one fold of the Eightfold Path each month. This month we're on right action. So we'll be talking about that tonight. Tim, if you wanted to, you could get a broom and just gently coax it down because it's kind of trapped up there. There's a little bird. Oh no. Yeah, little friend. Oh, he's right there, see? Yeah. He just was going outside. So he's swimming. Oh, goodness. I'm sure there's a wonderful Dharma talk correlation to the bird being stuck at the closed window while the open window's right underneath it. We might get there. Please teach us. Might be injured. Uh-oh. Magic wildlife run. He's hurt. He can't fly.
There's another Dharma talk.
That's our lives. Okay, so we'll go into a meditation. During the meditation, I'll think of how to give a talk about that. For tonight's meditation, we will be doing
How to have birds.
what?
Let's focus on the bird.
On bird? Yeah, listening meditation to the bird.
No matter what, it's going to be focused on bird.
Yeah. I think for tonight we'll do maybe just a breathing through the body meditation. Maybe we could breathe the sound of the bird through the body if you want. Yeah, I think that would be good. We'll do some hard-hitting death meditation or forgiveness meditation next week. Tonight we'll just do some breathing with the body. Yeah. A few things before we get started. Throughout the meditation, you'll hear various sounds. The mind will continue to think. You're not going to stop thinking. The practice of meditation is recognizing that you're lost in thought and returning to the meditation. When you recognize that you're lost in thought, try your best not to think of that as a defeat. That's a victory because you've noticed it and you can come back. And that's all that we're working on here. This quality of mindfulness, remembering to keep the breath in mind or the object of meditation in mind. Yeah. So with that, throughout the meditation, I may give suggestions like breathing in through the eyes or the ears, in through the back of the head, down through the top of the head. I'm not suggesting we're literally doing that. It's more of a conceptual exercise to spread sensation of breath throughout the body. The sensation of breathing is very much a tension relaxing sensation. It can become, if we make the breath comfortable, it can be something that the mind likes to settle down into. So we spread that breath awareness, that breath sensation throughout the body to have a more embodied awareness in the present moment. Yeah. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Closing the eyes, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And then settling into a natural rhythm of breathing. You could even pose the question in the mind as to what kind of breathing would feel the most calming or the most energizing, and then watch how the breath responds. As you maintain this awareness of focus on the breath, try to notice if you're creating any tension around the process of breathing. Any sense of forcing breath in or squeezing breath out. And see if you can drop it, allowing breath to flow in, allowing breath to flow out. Air is the element of freedom. If we can stop controlling it, it can show its true nature to us, and we can rest in that. We can, while maintaining this awareness of breath, we can extend our awareness down into the center of the chest, the area around the heart. Hold this portion of the body in our awareness and allow the breath to flow through the chest. dissolving away any bits of tension or tightness that you're holding on to there. All the way through the in-breath, all the way through the out. If you want, you could even imagine the breath coming in and out right there at the heart, so you don't have to push or pull it from anywhere else. Breathing in, soothing the chest, soothing the heart. Breathing out, opening the chest. With the chest relaxed, gently guiding the awareness up into the center of the head. And allowing breath, energy, awareness to flow into the center of the head. You can even imagine it coming in not only through the nose, but in through the eyes and the ears, the back of the head, the top of the head. Just gently flowing deep into the brain, soothing mental tension. As you breathe out, you can allow breath awareness to radiate out in all directions, relaxing the forehead and the area around the eyes, the scalp and the jaw. with tension in the head spacious and relaxed. You can guide breath awareness down the neck and the shoulders, down the arms and out the hands. Soothing the neck, dropping the shoulders, unclenching the hands, filling them with your awareness. Guiding awareness down the spine, lengthening the spine as you breathe in, and radiating out from the spine as you breathe out, relaxing tension in the back. Guiding breath awareness down the legs and out the feet, flowing down the legs as you breathe in, soothing the hips and the knees, radiating out from the feet as you breathe out, soothing tension. That completes one cycle through the body. If you were meditating on your own, you'd go through these various parts again and again until the mind really started to settle. But for tonight's purpose, we'll move on to the next step. And that's to allow your awareness to settle into whatever area in the body you found it easiest to remain focused, whatever area there may be a pleasant sensation arising, a sense of tingling in the chest, perhaps, a sense of spaciousness in the head, maybe a feeling of lightness against the back. Wherever it may be, allow your awareness to settle into that part of the body and maintain this awareness of breath. This awareness of sensation. You may even notice as you attend to this part of the body, that's the sensation there will gradually spread to fill the body. From the crown of the head out to the tips of the fingers and the toes. No need to force anything. Simply allow the possibility. cultivating this embodied awareness in the present moment. And before we open our eyes in a moment, we can remind ourselves that just because the eyes are open doesn't mean the mind has to go flowing back out with them. You can still maintain some sense of being centered within the body. And you can carry this centeredness out into the rest of your activities. When attending to tasks, speaking with others, it is possible to do so with this as your foundation. A sense of stability. And with that thought in mind, you can open the eyes when ready and stretch if needed. As always, after the meditation, I'm curious to hear if anyone would like to share how that experience was for them, whether you found it easy, difficult, straightforward, confusing, or whatever else you may be sitting with in this moment. And those of you following along at home, feel free to chime in the live chat over there.
I found it very difficult on account of work. I kept thinking world is hurt. But Tim tells me what you are. It's just a joke. But because of that, I can concentrate on that.
Question about, I know that Zen, remember right here a couple years ago, about the meditating where you're actually facing the wall. Your eyes are open, right? And then you're just staring at a focal point. So the purpose, I know you say like soft kind of gaze, eyes looking down or eyes closed, but what is the problem with having like an eyes open practice? If you're able to quiet them, sometimes you're able to quiet the mind more with eyes open.
So there's nothing wrong with an eyes open practice or anything like that. It is a traditional Zen practice. And usually they're about half open, just so you're not straining the eyes, like trying to stare daggers into the wall. So the benefits of an eyes open practice are particularly helpful if someone has like a tendency towards falling asleep, or if you really get lost in thought when they're closed. I prefer having them closed because I like being able to see the thoughts, because I understand at this point in my practice that just because the thoughts are happening doesn't mean I'm distracted unless I'm like feeding into the thoughts, right? The thoughts will come, the thoughts will go. And I feel like I see them better, or I see them more clearly with the eyes closed. That being said, if it's a day where I just didn't sleep much and I'm still trying to sit and meditate, I'll have an open eye practice because there's no chance that I'm staying awake. But yeah, there's benefits to both sides of the practice, or both ways, eyes closed, eyes open. It's predominantly a Zen practice, but also every school of Buddhism practices walking meditation, which is best advised to be done with eyes open. Yeah. Does that kind of address your question?
Yeah. So is the practice of sitting facing the wall, is that just one of the many Zen?
That's pretty traditional Zen. So with the eyes open, if I was doing like an eyes open meditation, sitting here, every little movement could potentially distract me or make a thought arise or whatever. If you're sitting like to where your knees are practically touching the wall and you're staring at the wall, there's a lot less distractions that can arise. And also, if you stare at the wall softly long enough, you start to get some cool visuals, which isn't the point, but it's still entertaining. And then at least you're focusing on the present moment at that time. Yeah. Anyone else want to share how that experience meditation was? Or if you have any questions about it?
So what do you do if something like bird in a good situation happens? Keep thinking about that.
You let it go. So, and this is advice that I've given you lots of times, I know, but you had a very physical reaction to the bird being injured. It's visceral, it's physical. And that physical reaction caused tension in the body. That pattern of tension in the body became associated with bird is injured. In theory, if you recognize the pattern of tension that's associated with the distraction, you can cut that pattern of tension. You can cut the bonds between that pattern of tension. I've used the image of like various cities with supply routes between them. And it's only when a pattern of tension is fulfilled that a distraction is really persistent, really recurring. If we can recognize the way that pattern of tension is kind of like a constellation in the body, and we can cut the links between that, it releases a lot of the mind's fixation on things. I've shared often that for me, the emotion of anger starts as tension in the shoulders, travels down the arm, and makes a fist. And it's not until the tension in the hand creates a fist that anger arises in the mind. Because that's a pattern of tension that's brought about by my own habitual tendencies over many years of what I do when I'm angry, or what I used to do when I'm angry. Get angry, punch something, wall, person, whatever it might be. That's the pattern of tension that my body and my mind associates with anger. So if I see something that makes me angry, there's a momentary, and it can feel lightning fast. And with practice, that moment gets stretched out a little bit. Time dilates a little bit. But I see something that makes me angry, and there's this lightning fast process of shoulders tensing down into fist. If I can cut the shoulders, if I can drop the shoulders as soon as they tense up in that moment, I'm able to respond more skillfully to something that otherwise would have triggered anger in me. And maybe it still triggers some anger in me, but not nearly as intense as if I just let it go. Let it play out. If I let it go, I'd be fine. But if I let that pattern of tension play out, anger will arise in full force. If I'm able to drop the shoulders and truly fully relax the tension in the shoulders, anger doesn't arise at all. So it's about learning those patterns of tension. If you use pattern of tension of concern, of maybe grief, maybe it reminds you of something in the past, whatever it may be, that all of these contributing factors that led up to you feeling that way about the bird, there's lots of patterns of tension to work through. Yeah, does that kind of address your question?
Just a couple of things. That was a baby bird, and it was okay, and it flew away once it found its way out. And then I wanted to share that today I had an experience with that when you were talking about at work. I was working on some cool equipment, and it wasn't going the way that I wanted it to, or that I thought that it should, based on the information that I had. So it was interesting to watch my mind, because I wanted to get super frustrated and pissed off. And I kept going, wait a minute, this is happening right now. And I can figure this out. It's going to get fixed. That if I create all this tension around it and be angry about it and tell the story about it, then it's going to make it worse. You know, so I had to step away and go sit down and breathe for a minute and then come back to it, and it worked its way out, you know. But it's so weird. Meditation does that for me. It just reminds me, gives me that little bit of space between what's happening and the story I'm telling myself about it.
I know, thank you for sharing. I know for myself personally, and what this meditation practice has helped with is kind of touching on the same thing. Most of the moments in my life that I heavily regret could have been completely avoided had I had a little bit more space before my reaction to the situation. If that time dilation that this meditation practice kind of allows kicked in those moments, just a second or two of reflection would have prevented the majority of the things that I regret doing throughout my life, because I'm very reactive. I think anyone who really comes to a Buddhist temple or comes to a place of mindfulness, of meditation, probably a good chance that they're reactive. Not calling out anyone in the room in particular, but chances are you react heavily to things often. And this meditation practice allows space to transform reaction into response. Instead of reacting, I'm responding. Instead of a knee-jerk reaction of basically something happens and all of my past karma, my past conditioning propels me into a reaction. Instead, I can take a minute and have that momentum from past karma, past conditions come, and I meet it with stillness. And then I have this beautiful moment of being able to choose how I respond instead of just being a slave to my past conditioning. So that's what this practice has really been beneficial to me. Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about the topic. I think like tonight's topic's right action. I think I'll talk a little bit about right speech and right livelihood as well. The Eightfold Path of right views, right resolve, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration is kind of further divided into three sections. There's the virtue or the moral aspects of the path, the concentration or meditative aspects of the path, and then the discernment or wisdom aspects of the path. So when talking about right action, its sister components are right speech and right livelihood, and they form a kind of moral or ethical foundation for this practice to kind of flourish from, right? So with right speech, it's taking ownership of the way that we talk to others and the way that we talk to ourselves. It's taking ownership of our narratives, and it's adopting a principle of honesty and a principle of non-affliction and applying that to how we speak to others and how we speak to ourselves. Trying to curb exaggeration, avoiding speaking in ways that are intended to deceive or cause schisms in friendship or anything like that. But at its essence, at its core, is doing our best to not cause harm through the way that we speak, through our speaking. And then right action, same principle, adopting this principle of non-affliction that underpins all of the moral or virtue aspects of the path. Not wanting through our actions to cause harm to others or cause harm to ourselves. And then also a principle of heedfulness, meaning seeing actions that maybe won't necessarily cause harm in the moment, but they are detrimental to our overall well-being. They could cause harm down the line. So we're heedful, we're careful, seeing the danger in things, seeing the drawback in certain activities, that we abstain from them because we're focused on not causing harm to self or to other. And the only way that we can do that reliably is by reflecting on our actions and reflecting on the consequences of our actions. And also being very, very honest with ourselves, right speech, about our intentions with performing certain actions. Are we doing something to help someone else because we're intrinsically motivated to help someone else? Or are we doing something to help someone else so that they owe us a favor, or so that we can feel good about ourselves, or for whatever other kind of twisted reasons, twisted intentions that we might have for trying to help, using helping as a tool for manipulation, using helping as a tool for self-satisfaction? Or are we helping because we genuinely want to help? We genuinely have an urge to help. And then right livelihood. Right livelihood, in essence, is how we take care of our own needs. A livelihood refers to like your employment, but also the way that you sustain the body. So within right livelihood, you can consider, again, we're adopting the principle of non-affliction and expanding it further to the way that we meet our own needs. We might have a solid foundation of right action, meaning we're not trying to take advantage of people in our personal lives, or trying to take advantage of people in our personal life or causing harms in our personal life. But oftentimes we can turn a blind eye to the way that we're making ends meet because our survival is on the line. So we might be a little more okay with taking advantage, or a little more okay with potentially causing harm in order to pay the rent. So right livelihood is expanding upon this principle, recognizing if the way that we earn a living is causing harm to others, if the way that we earn a living is destroying our own goodness and our own well-being. So all of these virtue aspects of the path create a strong foundation for this practice to thrive in. They're standards that they're not commandments. They're not something that a god or a deity is forcing upon us. They're something that we're taking on ourselves because we've decided that the way that we've been living for however many years we've been living it has not been working for us. We're here on a Thursday night. What we've been doing hasn't been working for us. We need to change those habits, adopt new, more skillful habits in their place, create a new relationship with the mind, a new relationship with our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And all of that is done. The beginning of that, all of that comes from living our life in a way where we're not piling on even more regrets, more resentment, more harm. Because when we stop doing those things, it's only when we stop causing harm that the path to peace actually begins to develop. If we still keep living our lives however we're living it, but we come to the temple once a week and do 25 minutes of meditation, that's not really going to cut it. You wouldn't brush your teeth once a week. You shouldn't just meditate once a week. And to further that analogy, if we're really trying to take care of our dental health, we wouldn't be eating a lot of sweets and a lot of sugar and all that stuff constantly. But we do the equivalent to that in the way that we live our lives. We seek short-term pleasure at the expense of long-term benefit. We try to find little hits of dopamine, little hits of satisfaction here and there, when in reality, that constant pursuit of short-term pleasure cuts off the potential for long-term ease and contentment. So that's what this moral aspect or this virtue aspect of the path points towards. Adopting these principles of non-affliction, of heedfulness, of honesty, and of integrity for the rest of the practice to thrive from. If we have that foundation creates the support for concentration to arise in the mind. The concentration isn't a state that we enter into. It's a state that we create the conditions for it to arise on its own within Buddhist practice. And the conditions for concentration or meditative awareness to arise fully are that we're not causing harm, that we're not piled down with resentment, anger, guilt. And we do that by living virtuously, being of service to others, coming every Thursday night at 5 downstairs to prepare sandwiches to hand out to people who sleep on the streets. Things like that. So we can begin to cut through and dissolve away years and years of kind of self-neglect and harm that we've caused both to ourselves and others that led us here on a Thursday night. Yeah, that's kind of my piece for tonight. Any questions, comments, anything that brought up for anyone?
I have a question. So I understand that a large component of meditation is the awareness of thought. You had said earlier you were going to use the meditation time to come up to the topic. I was wondering if I'm using my mind as a tool during meditation to say make a decision, or if I'm hungry, build a sandwich in my head. Am I stepping away from meditation or meditative practice?
Yes. The best thing to do, meditation isn't a tool to try to find a solution to something. That was half a joke at the beginning when I said I would think about a topic. I'm not always necessarily meditating when I'm up here leading, because I have to keep track of the time and make sure I say the right things at the right time. Don't start with the ending instructions and then work backwards or something. But I'm trying to meditate to the best of my ability in 3-minute intervals while I'm up here. But meditation practice itself, we're not trying to solve any problems. We're definitely not trying to build a sandwich in our head. But the mind state that's cultivated in meditation is fairly conducive to solving problems. So my suggestion is, if you have a tendency to try to solve everything when you sit down to meditate, or try to find a solution to a problem, the best way that you can find a solution to that problem using meditation is to write down the thing you're trying to figure out, set it aside, meditate earnestly, and then reapproach it afterwards. You'll have a clearer mind, a calmer mind, and a more objective mind to try to solve the problem. If we just use the meditation as a time to try to solve a problem, we're never actually meditating. The only problem we should be concerned with solving within the meditation is, how can I get the mind to settle into the moment? How can I get the mind to focus on the object? Where is there tension in the body? Can I relax that tension? Where is it easiest to focus in the body? Should I maintain there? Is my breathing constricted or is it spacious? Those are the kind of questions and the kind of problems that are useful to solve during the meditation, meaning questions and problems directly related to the meditation. This is what the Buddha called directed thought and evaluation, and it's actually the quality that leads to heightened states of concentration. So asking questions during the meditation about the meditation is helpful. Trying to figure out our meal plan for the week, or if I should talk to my boss about a promotion, not so helpful during the meditation, but something to ponder after the meditation once we've calmed things down a bit. That address your question? Any other questions or comments? So during the meditation, I realized I forgot to do where I normally go around the room, say your name. And I thought a fun question would have been to say your name and your favorite type of bird. I should have saw that coming.
I have a question. So, how extreme do you have to go with some of this in terms of, so like, there's this website that has hockey games you can watch and you don't have to pay for it. And, getting these hockey games is a lot of money, right? So, and my wife's a huge hockey fan, so we use this website, and I'm like, gosh, they're telling me, like, don't take what's not really given to you. And I'm like, but, it's like, isn't this a victimless crime kind of thing? I mean, it probably isn't at some level. So, like, where does this end, Because I'm like, oh, I don't want to, like, browbeat myself, but basically, I'm hoping you say, just watch that hockey game. That's probably not the answer that you're gonna give me.
I mean, I could say that if that's just what you want to hear, but so so is it okay to illegally pirate entertainment, or does that break the precept on not stealing? Right. So just a quick overview of the precepts for those who may not know. The precepts are the kind of all the aspects of the virtue aspects of the path: right speech, right action, right livelihood, can be fairly well summed up within the 5 precepts, which is the core moral code of a Buddhist practitioner. Someone who's practicing Buddhism takes on vows to take on the precepts, as the precepts are often used or explained as traffic lights. They're not something that's necessarily hard and fast that we have to stick to. They're something that we've chosen to take on for ourselves. So they're not something that's forced onto you. They're not a commandment. When you have a traffic light, if it's red, can you still run the light? Yeah. Is it the best idea to? Probably not. What could happen if you ran the light? Nothing could happen. You could get away with it. You could get a ticket. You could get in an accident. You could kill someone. All sorts of things could happen. And that's kind of the quality of the precepts is, well, then it's probably best to just not run the light. Even though you might get away with it, you also might not. In terms of, does that count as breaking the precept of stealing? I would say just based on how you asked the question, it counts for you. You see it as stealing, but you want the person sitting up here to say that it's not stealing and that it's fine. Sorry, it's definitely still stealing. Piracy. Pirates steal things, and it's piracy. So in terms of where I draw the line, I don't find it helpful to super expand out from the precepts, because they kind of lose their clear cutness when we expand too wide. What I mean by that is sometimes people interpret the precept of not stealing as like, don't steal people's time, meaning don't talk too much in a conversation, or et cetera, et cetera. I think those are useful. Those can be useful. I don't think that's the point of the precept. The point of the precepts is to be very clear cut. So the precepts, I realize I explained them as traffic lights. I didn't actually say what they were. No killing, no lying, no stealing, no causing harm through sexuality, and no use of intoxication, no use of intoxicants. Those are kind of the 5 precepts that a Buddhist practitioner wanting to find true happiness within, wanting to find a sense of ease and a sense of peace, would choose voluntarily to adhere to. No killing, lying, stealing, sexual misconduct, use of intoxicants. Chances are you've done at least 2 out of 3 today, but we try our best, or 2 out of 5, sorry. We try our best to adhere to them. We try our best to stick to them to the best of our ability. Sometimes, and Eric's not here tonight, but sometimes it might be necessary to break them, in terms of if adhering to them would cause more harm in a situation than not adhering to them. But that's not my job to tell you when. That's your own job. And chances are no one's going to die if you don't pirate the hockey games. So my general suggestion is probably pretty clear there. But yeah, it's just something that we adhere to voluntarily, because it creates less tension in the mind, less tension in our lives, and it's easier to create a sense of ease. I mean, obviously, it's bothering you to some extent because you felt the need to ask the question. And that kind of that's kind of the point of the precepts. We become more mindful, more aware of what we're doing and how we're interacting in the world, and recognize that we might not actually be okay with some of the things that we've previously overlooked. or written off? Is a lie really a lie if it's just a little white lie to spare someone's feelings? Is it really killing if it's just a gross bug? I won't give examples for the other ones. But yeah, so clear cut boundaries for the practice to flourish. That's the precepts. Does that kind of address your question?
Yeah, she should love the website.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, so one time someone said, like, I abide by the precept to not kill, so I have my spouse kill the bug when there's a bug in there. I was like, it's still, it's coercion. Yeah. You're just wiring someone else. You're getting someone else to also have to suffer the karmic consequences of the action instead of just taking it on yourself. Yeah. So with that, we're just slightly over time. We'll close with the dedication of merit, and then we have a few announcements. If comfortable, please join palms. May any merit gained from tonight's meditation and discussion be dedicated to all those who suffer. May all beings in all directions, without limit or end, be healthy, safe, joyful, and at ease. May we all be healthy, safe, joyful, and at ease. Metta karuna mudita bhaka sangha tea cheta sachaturi sammaratva harati sammamunaro bhavena sammanamaro bhavena sammasangharo bhavena sote hantu nirantaram. So a few announcements before the announcements. One is there are Medicine Buddha talismans out on the shoe rack. If you'd like one or two, feel free to take them. I made them myself. They've been blessed through reciting Medicine Buddha mantra 108 times a day for 108 days. You can take it for yourself, or there's a little circle in the corner. You can put someone's initials, someone who needs physical or emotional healing. So feel free, they're right out there. This class, or at least me leading this class, I'm not sure what will happen, but this is there's only 2 more classes, and then I'm taking an extended break from leading classes. So at the end of this month, I won't be leading any classes in July, or probably for the foreseeable future. I'm just a little bit burnt out. I've been doing it 6 years straight, need a bit of a break. Yeah, so that is pretty much it. Deepest gratitude to everyone who's sat with me throughout the years. And if you're watching online, there is a study guide in the link below for right action, and then another folder collection of all the study guides that I've made over the years through all aspects of the Eightfold Path. If you're here in person, just go to Dharma Bump Temple YouTube page and click on the last video, and there's links to all of that. There's also a link to the Dhamma Talks website, which is an awesome resource that I suggest using. Yes, and then in July, Bettina will start leading a kind of a 4 Foundations of Mindfulness and Brahma Viharas meditation every Wednesday. So I would suggest coming to that. Yeah, I think that's about it. So then we have a few other announcements.
Everybody on tonight's host. We opened the Dharma Bump Temple 17 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up.